All right, 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, may I have a motion to elect a moderator?
I nominate Frank Lito as moderator.
Motion by Ms. Lapellis, Ms. Enid Lapellis to elect Frank Lito as moderator, with a second by Ms. Duchess. All those in favor of Frank Lito as moderator, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. All right, thank you. I'm going to appoint our town attorney, Jack Fraccassini, as parliamentarian, and the town clerk will now read the call of the meeting. Ms. Stone?
Notice of special town meeting and referendum vote, Monroe, Connecticut. All electors and persons qualified to vote in town meetings of the town of Monroe, Connecticut, the town, are hereby notified that the town council of the town are convening a special town meeting to be held at the Monroe Town Hall, 7 Fan Hill Road, Monroe, Connecticut, on February 29th, 2016, at 7 p.m. for the following purpose. To discuss and to consider and discuss, but not vote upon, and receive communication from the First Selectman, the Town Council, and the Board of Finance regarding an appropriation of $1,700,000 for the cost of the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project. Such project to include, but not be limited to, the construction of a turf multi-purpose field, reconstruction of the end zones, resurface of the track, the addition of 2 sprint lanes, and the upgrades of the athletic field lighting and the audio, scoreboard and security systems at Masuk High School in the town of Monroe, the town, and all alterations, repairs, and improvements in connection therewith, as well as engineering, architectural, and temporary and permanent financing costs of the project, and to meet said appropriation, and in lieu of tax therefore, bonds of the town be issued pursuant to Chapter 109 of the Connecticut General Statutes, as amended, or any other provision of law thereto, enabling in the amount of $1,700,000, or so much thereof as may be necessary after deducting grants or other sources of funds available therefore. And the First Selectman and the Treasurer be authorized to issue and sell temporary notes of the town in an amount not to exceed $1,700,000 in anticipation of the receipt of the proceeds from the sale of such bonds, and to determine the terms of such notes and bonds, and to do all things necessary or appropriate to issue such bonds or notes. The full text of the authorizing resolution for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project is on file and open to inspection at the office of the town clerk, Town Hall, 7 Fan Hill Road, Monroe, Connecticut, for the review of any interested person. All persons qualified to vote in town meetings of the town are hereby further notified that pursuant to Section 7-7 of the Connecticut General Statutes and the Town Charter, the First Selectman and the Town Council have removed the above item on the call of this special town meeting for submission to the voters of the town who are qualified to vote at town meetings for yes or no vote by paper ballot on the following question. Shall the town of Monroe appropriate $1,700,000 for the cost of the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project? Such project to include, but not be limited to, the construction of a turf multi-purpose field, reconstruction of the end zones, resurface of the track, the addition of 2 sprint lanes, and the upgrades of the athletic field lighting and the audio, scoreboard and security systems at Masuk High School in the town of Monroe, the town, and all alterations, repairs, and improvements in connection therewith, and engineering, architectural, and temporary and permanent financing costs related thereto, and authorize the issuance of bonds and notes in the amount of $1,700,000 to finance such appropriation. The vote will be conducted during the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. at the Monroe Senior Center, 235 Cutler's Farm Road, Monroe, Connecticut, on March 8, 2016. The return of posting publication thereof are in file and of record, and states said that said notice has been posted on the town signpost on February 23rd, 2016, and a copy thereof has been published in the Connecticut Post, a newspaper having substantial circulation in said town, in its issue of February 24th, 2016.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Persons eligible to vote at the town meetings are: 1, any person who is an elector of the town of Monroe, and 2, any citizen 18 years of age or more who, jointly or severally, is liable to the town of Monroe for taxes assessed against him or her on an assessment of not less than $1,000 on the last completed grand list of the town, or who would be so liable if not entitled to an exemption under subdivision 17, 19, 22, 23, 25, or 26 of section 12-81 of the general statutes. I hereby notify the electorate of the town of Monroe of the following. On February 22nd, 2016, the Monroe Town Council passed a motion approving the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project, such project to include, but not be limited to, the construction of a turf multipurpose field, reconstruction of the end zones, resurface of the track, the addition of 2 sprint lanes, and the upgrades of the athletic field lighting and the audio, scoreboard, and security systems at the Masuk High School in the town of Monroe. Hereby the town and all alterations, repairs, and improvements in connection therewith, and engineering, architectural, and temporary and permanent financing costs related thereto, and authorize the issuance of bonds and notes in the amount of $1,700,000 subject to approval by the Monroe electorate as follows. A special town meeting will be held at 7:00 p.m. at the Monroe Town Hall on February 29th, 2016. This approval included the following. I will read the following communication that was received from the First Selectman for incorporation into the minutes of the meeting. February 17, 2016, to the Town Council, Board of Finance, and legal voters of the Town of Monroe. Pursuant to Chapter 9 of the Monroe Town Charter, I recommend the adoption of the resolution attached hereto and entitled, quote, resolution regarding an appropriation and bond authorization of $1,700,000 for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project, period, end quote. Pursuant to Section 7-7 of the Connecticut General Statutes and the Monroe Town Charter, I recommend to the Town Council the adoption of and hereby approve the resolution attached hereto and entitled, Resolution regarding the special town meeting and referendum vote on the appropriation and bond authorization of $1,700,000 for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project. Very truly yours, Stephen J. Vavrick, First Selectman. At the meeting of the Town Council held February 22nd, 2016, the following resolution was adopted and recommended for adoption by the town. Resolution regarding the special town meeting and referendum vote on the appropriation and bond authorization of $1,700,000 for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project. Frank Lito, Town Council Chairman. At the special meeting of the Board of Finance held February 22nd, 2016, the following resolution was adopted and recommended for adoption by the town. Resolution regarding the special town meeting and referendum vote on the appropriation and bond authorization of $1,700,000 for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project. Michael Mandros, Board of Finance Chairman. Just 1 minute. That's not the right date.
He's gonna check, but he thinks it's the 24th.
Okay. had so many meetings. I'll find it.
I didn't get anything from the Board of Finance, I just got the date.
February 22nd.
Is it 24th?
Finance was the 22nd. Town council was the week before.
Were they both the same night?
No, it wasn't. Finance was the 22nd. We were before that.
Yeah, the draft minutes of your meeting on the 22nd.
February 22nd, the vote was 5-1.
That's what I got from Donna. I think the things were both on the same night.
No, this was, voted on the amendment to the
I thought you guys on the show.
No, we voted before that, the minutes before that. I'll find it.
17th?
I think so. It was a special meeting. I just want to make sure it's clear.
She sent her that, that's what she sent me.
This, we voted for the, remember the addendum, because we had to set the place.
Yeah.
That was on the 22nd.
Yep.
So we probably should incorporate both, right?
Okay.
Just to be sure. Here it is. 217.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, 217.
Right, okay.
I have it, it's 217. So how do you want me to correct that? Do you want me to just go back and?
You can just make a notation that, just to make sure the record's correct, that the meeting, the resolution.
All right, I just want to state for the record, just to clarify, the action that was taken by town council. Town council
I think it was
on February 17th, town council at its special meeting on February 17th, 2016, voted on two matters. A resolution regarding an appropriation and bond authorization of $1,700,000 for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project. And that motion was considered and passed by the town council, by the majority of town council. It was a unanimous vote. And B, resolution regarding a special town meeting and referendum vote on the appropriation and bond authorization of $1,700,000 for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project was the second item of business on February 17, 2016. That also was considered by the town council and passed unanimously. Subsequent thereto, on February 22nd,
Second last page and the last page.
2016, town council then voted on another resolution that was essentially established the voting location to be the senior center, and it also changed the hours, as well as any reference to a voting machine that may have been in the prior resolution was deleted and replaced with to vote by paper ballots. That also was considered by town council, and both of those considerations passed 9-0. So that should clarify the record. Finance, as I said before, Finance at a special meeting in the Board of Finance also held on February 22nd, subsequent to the town council vote. The resolution was passed, as I indicated earlier. The same resolution had been considered by town council, and that vote was 5-1. At the special town meeting scheduled for February 29th, that prior to consideration of said resolution, it will accept input from members of the public and the Monroe electorate. That subsequent to said input from members of the public and the Monroe electorate, said town meeting shall be adjourned to a townwide vote on March 8th, 2016, at the Monroe Senior Center at the time stated below, that pursuant to the language of Section 7-7 of the Connecticut General Statutes, the Monroe Town Council, again acting in its capacity as the legislative body of the town of Monroe, sets the following hours for said townwide meeting from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Before I open the floor for public input and comment, I just want to announce that Mr. Zamory has been kind enough to set up the presentation of the high school track and field and turf project again for us, but I'm only going to ask him to run that presentation if there are any requests from the audience. So if anybody has any requests, please ask, and we'd be happy to show the presentation. At this time, I'm going to open up the floor for input from the public and Monroe electorate. So if anybody would like to say something, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. And Ms. Duchess.
Deborah Duchess, 15 Hearthstone Road, Board of Finance member. I just have one curiosity. At your town council meeting where you approved the resolution, you do not have in front of you the reconfigured plan for the Masuk High School Stadium Field at $1.7 million. At our subsequent February 22nd Board of Finance meeting, we did have a reconfigured plan in front of us that totaled $1.7 million. However, the resolution states that it would be upgrades of the athletic field lighting, the audio, scoreboard, and security systems. On the reconfigured $1.7 million, those are excluded items, and I wondered if that had any impact on the bonding resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Duchess. I can tell you just from council's standpoint that the town council was aware of the considerations that were required. In fact, when the original resolution had been presented to us, and we had considered it at least 2 times prior to the vote, and that's being kind. The original resolution, as presented, came to town council as a $2.3+ million resolution. The reason why that resolution was never moved forward is because it was never the intention of town council at any of its discussions to put forward to the public a bonding resolution for more than $1.7 million. In conversations with bond counsel, the finance department, and Attorney Fracassini, it was determined that in order for the resolution to move forward at 1.7, the project would have to be phased, and that the resolution was not impacted because the improvements that were listed as a list, including but not limited to, and that conversation did happen with bond counsel, and she was comfortable that the project could be adjusted, phased, condominiumized. There were many terminologies used, but to include any or all of the underlying descriptions that were set forth in the resolution. So no, it did not impact the resolution. Does that answer your question? I'm not speaking for all of council, but you asked a question. I wanted to not hear crickets in the room for you. Anybody else?
Lois Spence, 29 Partridge Drive. I did not see the original presentation, but I don't want to make everybody in the whole room sit through it just because I haven't seen it. But I did have a couple of questions about the appropriations. I was wondering how much the field itself cost and the installation of the field, as opposed to the other expenses that are going to be incurred with the entire project. And the reason I ask that is because, from what my understanding is, these fields only last 8 to 10 years. And if we have to do this again in 8 to 10 years, is that going to be another bond project? Is that going to be covered in any way at all? The other question is that I know that this needs to go before P and Z and in the wetlands for approvals. Now, if they require something more than is presented with the original presentation, and it adds to the expenses, is there a way to cover that within the bonding and the other financial situations we have going on? And that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Agustin, I think you can answer any questions that you feel that you can't answer, but it may be appropriate to put that one slide up that shows the cost breakdown.
Jim Augustine, Superintendent of Schools, and we do have a slide that will answer that question. I can't jump to it. I have to scroll through it, through the whole presentation to get to it, so if you just bear with me. This is the budget, the total budget, $2.26 million that has been the whole project. And kind of answering the other question too, we do have some options for phasing or for fundraising to bring the whole project to fruition ultimately. But to answer this specific question, the turf, the synthetic turf logo, the groomer, and the football component of this is $600,000. There was some netting for safety for track and field events, and then the underlying drainage and underlayment work was $455,000. The field is going to be striped for 5 different sports to be played on that field, and we opted for a field that the underlayment supports the extra work and materials in the underlayment of the carpet, what we call the carpet, which is the grass-looking substance. You need that if you're not using crumb rubber infill, and we're going to use the organic rubber infill. When they talk about the longevity of the field, 10 years is about the average. Monroe just pulled theirs up for after 12 years. You don't pull up all of the this work here, the drainage and all of that. What you do is you pull up the infill and the carpet and put a new carpet down and new infill in that. And sometimes you can even salvage the infill if you vacuum it off before lifting up the carpet. Does that answer all the question?
And Ms. Spence, just one of the considerations town council had, and again, I want to make it clear again that, you know, I want to thank the fellow members of council for allowing this process to run its course, and finance as well. They essentially were getting this vote out to the public. But one of the considerations that we were well aware of is that certainly this project has to be vetted by a number of boards and commissions still, and with respect to council, we will be seeing a contract with the detailed scope of work. Attorney Fracassini will be reviewing that contract, and council will be reviewing that contract. Board of Finance will see that contract, and so that'll be another opportunity for us to really drill down into the scope of this project, as well as to answer your question about planning and zoning. You know, I'm assuming if there are any substantial cost increases as a result of any decisions that they make, the project may have to be reconfigured so that its phases are appropriate for the bonding amount as opposed to any other financing or money that's used. So there are still plenty of checks and balances in place as far as the boards and commissions are concerned to take a future look at this. And we did ask, fellow council members were concerned about what happens if something changes substantially and takes us outside of the cost scope of this project. And the simple answer would be the bonding. We would never go to bonding. We would not spend the money if it didn't fit within the parameters that the town approves, if it should get approved. Anybody else? All right, going once, twice. Okay, seeing no further input, I'm going to ask for a resolution to move this town meeting to an adjourned town meeting. Can I read the resolution?
Yes.
All Be it resolved that the special town meeting held February 29, 2016 regarding resolution regarding the special town meeting and referendum vote on the appropriation and bond authorization of $1,700,000 for the Masuk High School track and field reconstruction project is hereby adjourned to a town-wide vote to be held on March 8th, 2016. Will someone move that resolution forward? Motion by Ms. LaPellis to move the resolution as read forward. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Kabza. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And against? Nay? All right. The ayes have it. The motion carries. There being no further business to conduct, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. LaPellis. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Blasi. All those in favor? Aye. And against?